The Torah, in talking about Akedas Yitzchak, which is, of course, the pivotal story of this week's Parsha, makes a point of talking about what Avraham actually did. And it says, when the Torah talks about the items that Avraham took with him, it says, Vayikach Avram es atzei ha'olah, that Avraham took the wood that he was going to need for the sacrifice, Vayasem al Yitzchak beno, and he places them on Yitzchak to have Yitzchak carry the firewood to go up to Mount Moriah. Vayikach biado es ha'esh ves ha'ma'acheles, and Avram took in his hands, he took a fire source like a lantern, and he took a knife, a ma'achelet, which is a very strange word for knife. You don't find this word ma'achelet too often, if at all, in the rest of the Torah. And vayilchu shneim yachdav, and they walked together. And then the Torah says, Vayomer Yitzchak el Avraham aviv, and then Yitzchak turns to his father, and he says, Dad, Father, and his father says, Hineni, I'm here. Vayomer hinei ha'esh ve'ha'etzim. He says, I see the wood and I see the fire. Va'ayeh haseh le'olah. Where's the sheep that you were planning to use? One thing that Yitzchak doesn't ask him is, he says, here's the wood and here's the fire. Why didn't he say, here's the knife? He left out the knife part. In other words, the Torah makes a very explicit point of saying, Avram put the wood on Yitzchak's back, he takes the fire and he takes the knife, the ma'achelet, and then they walk together, and then Yitzchak turns to his father and says, I see the wood and the fire, but where's the sheep? And he leaves out the word ma'achelet completely. Yitzchak doesn't even question that I see that you took the knife, but you didn't take the sheep. So that's going to be my first question for you today. And my second question is that we never find that the Torah, in talking about any kind of ritual slaughter, ever tells us how we're supposed to slaughter an animal, or more correctly, what instrument we're supposed to use to slaughter an animal. As a matter of fact, the Talmud in Tractate Zvachim uses the story of Akedat Yitzchak as the source text that you have to use a knife when you slaughter a korban, you slaughter a ritual animal. So why is it? Why do we have to go back? We don't learn all the other laws of sacrificial offerings from the story of Akedas Yitzchak. Why is it only the knife that is taught to us by the story of Akedas Yitzchak? So I'm going to really try to be mikatzer. I'm going to really try to condense what I wanted to say. But the basic idea is this. Yitzchak understood that there's a certain spontaneity that is required in the service of Hashem. Because if you prepare everything well in advance, when you're about to offer a sacrifice, and everything is prepared and everything is planned very, very carefully in advance, then there's a certain advantage because you know exactly what you're about to do. But there's a certain lack of spontaneity in the service. What Yitzchak was challenging Avraham is that I could understand, if you wanted to, we could find firewood on the way. We could build a fire on our own once we get up to Mount Moriah. But I see that you've tried to prepare everything very, very carefully. So why is it that you haven't prepared the sheep? I understand, Father, that you have to try and find a balance between spontaneity and preparation, and proper preparation of mind, of preparation of self, and a preparation of and a premeditation. But why is it that you seem to have only prepared certain things but not other things? If you're going to prepare the fire and the wood, which are much easier to find on the path, then why wouldn't you also be spontaneous or be premeditated when it comes to finding the sheep? Why are you only being spontaneous and not taking the sheep with you? The reason why Yitzchak didn't ask about the knife is because you don't find a knife on the road. That's the one thing that Yitzchak didn't question his father, because he knew if there was anything that father was going to have to take with him on the journey in order to offer a korban, it's going to have to be a knife, because that's something that you just don't find on your way. So you can find wood, you can find fire, you can find an animal, but you certainly can't find a knife. And that's why he didn't ask him about it. think that the reason why the Torah is so careful to make a point of talking about the knife here and doesn't talk about the knife anywhere else when it talks about sacrificial offerings is because the Torah wants to de-emphasize the things that we have to prepare well in advance in the performance of a mitzvah. When it comes to offering a korban, any mitzvah that we do should be new in our eyes. It should be exciting. There should be a sense of spontaneity, or at least excitement, in the way that we perform the mitzvah. The object that represents the ultimate premeditation of preparing and putting everything in advance and then keeping it in a drawer, that's the knife that we take out of the drawer, we use it for the mitzvah, we put it back in the drawer when we're done, and there's nothing that we have to innovate or do anew when it comes to that part of the mitzvah. And that's why the Torah does not talk about it by other sacrificial services in the Torah. The one place where the Torah does have to talk about premeditation and preparation well in advance is when it comes to sacrificing your children. When Hashem tells Avraham to take his son Yitzchak and use him as a korban, that's where Avraham says, I need to make my ma'acheles, that knife, as an intrinsic part of that service. Why is that? And that will explain why the Torah says, Vayikach et ha-ma'achelet. He took the knife. What do you mean the knife? Well, just think he took a knife. Ha-ma'achelet means that it was the knife that Avraham had been preparing from the day that Yitzchak was born. Because when we have children, we can't be spontaneous. We have to be scripted. We have to be prepared. We have to have the knife in the drawer, so to speak. It's the same knife that Avraham used to circumcise his son Yitzchak. It's the same knife that we have to have in our drawers and prepared in our arsenal for situations that are going to happen, so that when our child does something inappropriate, we don't explode spontaneously and combust, but we have that tool in our shed, in our drawer, to know how to deal with it. And that's why the Torah emphasizes the ma'acheles here and not in other forms of sacrificial worship. When it comes to offering our children as sacrifices to Hashem, we have to have that knife ready. We have to know what to do with it. We have to have it all prepared. That's what I think why the Torah is emphasizing the word ma'achelet over here. And it should sort of act as an example for us that when we want to offer our children up to Hashem and train them and guide them along the path of being servants of Hashem, we make sure that we have things prepared in order to be able to know how to deal with them and to anticipate them and not just do things spontaneously. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.